I always believed that relationships were built on trust. It was something I held close, especially when it came to Jacob. He was my first real love, the person I thought would always be there. We had been together for almost 2 years, a seemingly perfect couple in the eyes of our friends and family. He was sweet, thoughtful, and always put me first. Or at least, that's what I thought. The evening had started like any other. We had planned to spend it together, watching a movie, eating pizza, and just being with each other after a long week. I had spent the afternoon cleaning my apartment, tidying up in anticipation for him to come over. I had made my favorite pizza, his favorite wine, and even picked out a film I knew he loved. It was supposed to be a relaxed, cozy night, one of those simple evenings that made me feel secure in our relationship. But that night, something felt off. I had just finished setting up everything when Jacob sent me a text. "Hey, I'm gonna be late. Don't wait up." I frowned as I read the message. He never canceled plans without at least offering an explanation, and it was unlike him to just say, "Don't wait up." It was a little vague, a little distant. The first thought that crossed my mind was that maybe something had come up. Maybe he was working late on a school project or hanging out with friends. But then I remembered something. Earlier that day, I had seen him leave his apartment with Vanessa. Vanessa. Tall, blonde, and bubbly. The kind of girl who always seemed to be around whenever Jacob had a break from his own studies. The same girl he'd been paired up with in their psychology class. The one who was always so friendly with him. At first, I didn't think much of it. It seemed innocent enough, after all, it was just a class project. But as time went on, something about their interactions began to bug me. I told myself I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I could feel it in my gut. And that night, I decided to act on it. After a few more minutes of scrolling mindlessly through social media, I heard the faint sound of Jacob's car pulling up outside my apartment. I waited a few moments before standing up and walking to the window, pulling back the curtain slightly. Sure enough, there he was, getting out of his car. But what I noticed next made my heart drop into my stomach. Vanessa was with him. They were standing on the sidewalk, talking quietly. Jacob was laughing, and Vanessa was leaning in a little too close. There was a certain ease between them, a familiarity that I hadn't seen before. Something inside me twisted as I watched them. I had no idea what was going on, but I wasn't about to let my suspicions grow unchecked. So I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed my keys and walked out the door, making my way to my car. I drove slowly, trying to steady my breathing as my thoughts raced. I had no idea what I was hoping to find. Maybe it was just my anxiety, but the more I thought about it, the more I couldn't shake the feeling that something was going on between Jacob and Vanessa. I drove to the apartment building where Vanessa lived, the one Jacob had mentioned a few times but I had never really paid attention to before. It was a quiet neighborhood, tucked away from the hustle and bustle of the city, and yet, it now felt like the setting for something far more sinister. I parked across the street and sat there for a while, watching the building. I didn't know what I was waiting for, but some part of me wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to know if my instincts were right, if there was something happening behind my back. Then I saw them. Jacob and Vanessa stood by her front door, chatting and laughing. Jacob's hand rested casually on the small of her back, too close for comfort. She smiled at him in that way she had, wide-eyed, almost flirtatious. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched them, feeling both helpless and furious at the same time. They didn't seem to notice me at first, but as they moved toward the door, I caught a glimpse of their hands brushing together. That was when I saw it. The way he looked at her as she opened the door. The smile he gave her was different from the one he gave me. It was warmer, more intimate. And then, before I could even register what was happening, he stepped inside. It was the longest few moments of my life. My pulse was racing, my fingers trembling as I watched the door close behind him. I stayed in my car for a few minutes, unsure of what to do next. Should I confront him? Should I storm inside and demand an explanation? But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I sat there, fighting the tears that threatened to spill, trying to hold onto the pieces of my trust that still clung to the edges of my broken heart. Just when I thought the world couldn't feel more surreal, I saw him again. He walked out of the building alone, his phone pressed to his ear. I stayed hidden behind the car, straining to hear his voice. "Yeah, it's done," he said. "She doesn't know anything." The words hit me like a slap. I could feel the ground beneath me shift, my breath caught in my throat. I had no idea what he meant, but I didn't need to. The way he said it, the casual tone, it made everything clear. He had been lying to me. He had been hiding something from me all along. I waited until he was gone, then drove home, my hands gripping the steering wheel as I tried to process what I had just witnessed. How could I have been so blind? How could I have let myself trust him so completely? The next few days passed in a blur. I barely slept. I barely ate. I kept replaying everything in my head over and over again, trying to make sense of it. And yet, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't understand why Jacob would betray me like this. The guilt gnawed at me too. Was I being paranoid? Was I overreacting? Maybe it really was just a study session. Maybe I had misunderstood what I saw. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. I had to confront him. One evening, I waited for him to come over, my heart pounding in my chest as I sat on the couch, trying to calm my nerves. When he finally arrived, I didn't say anything at first. I just looked at him, searching for something in his eyes that would tell me the truth. He seemed normal at first, like nothing had changed. He smiled at me, leaned in to kiss my cheek, and sat down beside me. But I couldn't focus on anything but the fact that I knew the truth now. I couldn't pretend everything was fine. Finally, I spoke. "Jacob, where were you the other night?" He paused, a slight shift in his demeanor. "I told you. I was with Vanessa. We were working on our project." I shook my head, my voice trembling. "No. You weren't just working on a project. I saw you. I saw you walk into her apartment." His eyes widened for a moment, then narrowed. "What are you talking about?" "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I know what I saw." There was a long silence between us, a thick tension hanging in the air. I could feel the truth sitting between us, heavy and unspoken. Finally, Jacob sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I didn't mean for you to find out like this." I waited for him to say more, but he didn't. Instead, he just stared at me, the guilt in his eyes.